Thank you so much for tuning in today. I am super excited for you guys to get to know and hear the stories of my next cool guest, casting director, Erica Arvold. Now, let me tell you a little bit about her. She is the owner and CEO of Arvold Casting, has spent 30 years as a casting director, educator, speaker, producer, writer, director, and an advocate for screen artists. Erica has contributed and participated in or helmed the making of over 140 films, 85 television shows, and countless other multimedia and commercial projects. Some of her credits include ABC, AMC, Amazon, Apple TV, Blumhouse, CBS, Disney, DreamWorks, Focus, Fox, Hallmark, HBO. Oh my goodness, like the list goes on and on of all these shows, which we're going to get into talking about. And right now, let's pop on and let's meet Erica. Here we go, guys. Hi, Erica.
Hi. It's always so weird to hear an intro. It's just weird. It doesn't even feel like me, to be honest. I'm like, who is that person you're talking about?
Well, that's why you're here. Because you know what? Who is that person? Who is Erica? I want to get to know you. People want to get to know you. Artists who are listening want to get to know you because, you know, like I always say, if you get a connection with who you're reading for and what their what their personalities are all about, it's just going to make you feel more connected when you actually have an audition. Like you feel like that we've met you before. So it's so important. So hi, it's my first time.
Hi. And well, I think you're right. Well, you know, you just made an aha moment for me because, you know, in the casting department, a lot of times, especially the pandemic, we came up with this idea that we wanted a less than 30-second story with pretty much every single audition. And some actors are like, why am I giving you a story? And we explained it a lot at first. Maybe it's worth re-explaining now because we've kept it because it's so unbelievably helpful. It makes us feel like we're in the room with somebody. It literally is a glimpse. I have watched people throughout building a house by themselves and they do a story and an update. I have watched people, you know, adopt new pets. I have watched the stories that I see and the transformations and the things that people do and are interested in. It's just one of the most incredible things that I honestly think it wouldn't have even happened if it were live in the room. Like the people are taking advantage in such a beautiful, artistic, creative way of this technology that, yes. And we made a story back last year after we cast Dopestick. We had so many stories. We made a story back to all the actors and as a casting office and told them a whole story and gave it to them as a gift.
Oh, and you did?
Yeah. And I was like, it's not fair to only be one-sided. So anyway, I agree with you. That's my whole story to say.
And I think that you want to get to know, like we want to hear about you, so we get to know you, but you want to know about the actors and their little story because you want to find the humanity, not just the lines on the page, just in case it didn't hit something that maybe their personality gets revealed in their story.
Well, I can tell you on some shows, the showrunner or the director on a movie or whatnot literally rely on those stories before they hire someone. It's incredible. Some people don't want to see them and they don't want to be influenced because they'll feel guilty. Now that's an interesting thing too, because there are creatives. I mean, everybody at every level on the spectrum of film and television making is human, obviously, right? But everybody at every level that I've ever known wants to be fair, hire the best person for the job. And sometimes if there's a story about someone connecting with material because their grandmother is like this, and this is blah, 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 then sometimes they feel like they're unable to look away from that and want to have it's really funny. And there's very few creatives that have been that way, but some of them are like, I can't be swayed besides the audition. I need to only hire them because I know what an empath I am. That they're like, you know, even a studio exec is like, I know what empath I am. I can't have that. Just send me this or whatever. And it's really interesting. Maybe I see so many stories and I am absolutely an empath, but I see so many that I am able to maybe juggle it a little more effectively.
You're basically saying for some producers, those stories, oh my God, but for you, every time. But do you think those stories, because for you, every time it helps connect you to the soulfulness of that person, does that help?
Absolutely.
Does that help you when you're kind of swaying the producers, like maybe take a look at that person? So does that help push it along?
It's not actually, funnily enough, it's not the content of the story, because when we started doing them,
Oh,
people are like,
interesting.
oh, wait, I need to show you my office in my closet. I was just talking, I was just standing and being boring. And it's not about the content. And it's not
Okay.
even about what you're showing me or how you're sounding. It's about the willingness to be vulnerable and confident.
Mm,
That's the difference. When it's a story, it's so apparent if someone's telling you a story because they want to tell you what you want to hear and
mm,
try to get the job,
mm.
which of course is the opposite of magnetic. And then
That's right.
and then there are the stories where it's like, here's me right now. This is it. I'm in my, third bedroom up in our townhouse, and my kid just went to college, and that's my story today. That's all I can think of, but I'm so happy to be here. Boom.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's like, I'm like, oh,
because it's
yeah,
real. It's
yeah.
simple, it's real, it's organic. I remember it back in the old days when I was an actor. I would always, and this is you were going in the room, but whenever I like
Mhm.
came back to town, I was on a cool vacation or I had something cool happen, I would always tell that story. And I know that's what
Yeah,
grounded me and intrigued them to me and helped, close the deal. Not that I'm an actor anymore, but in the old days
yeah,
when I was. But okay, I want to hear all about your life. And that's really interesting. And I hope actors that are listening are going to take that into consideration, because before we move on, that little bit of story is really the little bit of your vulnerability.
yeah.
Just a moment, a slice of you, which obviously though, you hope that the actors put into their scenes, because you can't do the scenes.
Absolutely. Well, and it's interesting because if someone's in their script analysis really finely, their story, there's a thread between their audition and their story in
Mm,
some way, shape, or form, even if it's just in their in character thinking.
mm,
Again, the content doesn't matter, but their in character thinking might be aligned with that character that they just auditioned for, even though they're talking about whitewater rafting and the story is literally, I don't know, about sitting in an office pushing
yeah,
paper. Like, you'd think it's different, but there's something
yeah.
in their in character thinking that's still aligned,
Yeah.
you know?
Hmm. Were you an actor first?
No, no, but I went to Goodman School of Drama. I went to DePaul University's theater school. And I either thought you could be an actor or a director. And so I went thinking I would I grew up without a TV. I grew up
Wait,
in
what?
Blacksburg, Virginia.
Wow.
And
Wait, can we hear about that story? No TV?
yeah, no,
Oh,
I
you
was from
actually had to like,
hippie parents. And
wow.
now I had a horse and I did like
Amazing.
other stuff. Like,
Like
TV
real
was not,
things, like outdoor
yeah.
things.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean, this is back in the 70s, and we had my dad had a black and white TV from when he was in college, and I finally got it out of the attic and set it up, and I was so obsessed with it. Like, I was tiny, right? I was obsessed with it. I was in my tween years, and I'll never forget, they were like, okay, you can watch it, but a maximum of 30 minutes a day. So we had two channels, and I was allowed to watch half an hour. So I had to pick the beginning half hour or the second half hour of Little House on the Prairie, because that's pretty
Oh,
much the only show. And I
I'm trying to
always
think,
picked,
what were the shows then? I don't even know. I can't remember.
I
Yeah.
don't know, because I hardly watch TV.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was really interesting. And honestly, the way that happened is we did have a TV when I was really small, and we were in Chicago at that time when I was very small. And I got in a bike accident, was home for 2 weeks, and I watched Sesame Street, and I began to speak Spanish. And my mother, who's an educator, said, okay, if you're absorbing that, that's great, but I don't know what else you're absorbing. That's not great. And we are no longer having TV in the house, and you are gonna do education without a TV. And that's why that decision was made.
Fascinating, but also fascinating that you learned Spanish so quickly. That to me is,
Yeah, I absorb. Well, then I'm obsessed with you. Then I'm obsessed with the screen. I mean, maybe that's why I'm in this business.
yes, you're
Right?
obsessed. Well, you know what? I have to say, I'm obsessed. Whatever we do in our lives, we're obsessed about. And that's what makes you
Yeah.
so good at what you do. You're obsessed about it. And obsession can be a negative and a positive, but for the job that you love, that is a positive for
Oh,
sure.
it's great. Well, it's funny because because I cast in Los Angeles for a decade, and when I was in, oh no, before I was in LA, I was in Chicago. When I was casting in Chicago, I met one other director. It was when we were doing this series called The Untouchables, and he also didn't have a TV growing up. And he's like, we have the best perspective. We don't have baggage of people that were on TV. Like I remember when Nickelodeon came out, I was a nanny at the time in Chicago, working my way while doing, theater and all that stuff, and working in casting. Like I started casting my junior year of college, to cut that short. Like I started as an intern, and I just got set up. So I was a baby and knew exactly what I wanted to do from when I was 8 years old. I directed my first play when I was 8. So
Oh,
I've always
amazing.
been
Yes.
this way, right? And but that director was like, you don't see the baggage of actors or anything. And sure enough, when I moved to LA, there were some movies that I cast, and we had some television actors. And at the time, this is in the 90s, at the time, these television actors were not getting arrested to be in films because there was such a separation. Like now television's all great and limited series and movie
Oh,
actors, and it's all this integration. Back then, you remember, Shari,
no,
it
I
was
do remember.
very,
But
and like if you
also
were, if you were a casting director, you either worked on film or in television, like you didn't do. So
100%.
I combined because I didn't have the baggage of television. So I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
how about this person for the
yeah.
feature? Anyway.
That's so good. But I think in the 90s, as I do recall, and some shows now actually, the television acting can be so, because the writing is just so much more linear than in the richness in film. So the acting can be a little bit forced, which hopefully it's not like on Netflix and all those other shows, but network television. So I can see where that divide would be. But I
Mhm.
think it's incredible that you weren't growing up with TV, because in your imagination is so much more vivid. Your life experiences are so much fuller. And that's what you
Mhm.
need as an artist, for you, even as a casting director, because you're reading something. So you have to have an imagination about it, right?
Yeah, for
So
sure. I guess I never even thought of it that way. But yeah, but I'm a visual thinker, as I think so many of us are in this industry. And so everything's pictures to me. But I forgot. That's actually really interesting because I feel like I grew up watching movies and television, but it was just life. You know what I mean?
which is so important, because that's why life and experiences for artists is what fuels you to dip in, to combine yourself with the imagination of the world that you're reading in. But now let's talk about, can we talk about Dopesick first?
Oh yeah, we can
Why?
talk about Dopesick.
First of all,
I just finished it. I just finished watching it. I mean,
amazing
whew,
casting, amazing actors all the way
thank
down the
you.
line. Incredible. And why do I bring it up? Because I used to coach Danny Strong, who created that show, and I love Danny so much. And we're still close. Like I don't really talk to him that much, but he's an amazing person. He was an actor
Yes.
first. And I was coaching him way back on, like when I first started coaching on Buffy. Okay, like the
Yeah.
last episode or whatever. And then I didn't talk to Danny for years, and I turned on the Golden Globes, and there he is getting a Golden Globe for, oh gosh, what is the movie with Sarah Palin?
Game change.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I was like, what is happening? And then we reunited, and he is a brilliant human being, incredible writer.
Oh,
Everything
an
he does is so,
incredible writer.
he's
It's
incredible.
yeah. It's almost. I mean, he's a wonderful actor. He's a wonderful human. I agree. He's such an advocate for actors. I mean,
Yes.
it's such a pleasure working with a showrunner who loves actors so much. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like he just adores casting and the whole process, and is so kind to everybody. And
Yeah.
even going through the credits, it was such a conversation. He's like, oh no, so and so, and they should go here, and they should go. Like it's just like, and he's so involved and so respectful, always respectful of like what someone brought on set, what's going to stay. I can only imagine. I wasn't in the cutting room, but I can only imagine how attentive he is to
Yeah.
every nuance in the cutting
What
room.
was, so obviously your experience on Dopesick was amazing. So you were doing the local casting, or tell us about your
Yeah, I
experience?
did the location casting. So AV Kaufman did the lead casting, and then we did the location casting, and it was a very, very big show. There's 8 episodes, as you know, and I think our count before any roles were cut or recast or whatever was that we hired 229 actors for location casting.
For 8
Literally,
episodes. And
I mean, that is, it's
just
phenomenally unbelievable that it's that many. I mean, it's that normal is like 10 per episode. So it's like 80, right? Like 229.
Yeah, it's a big show, but what does it mean, location? Does that mean the co-stars? What does that mean exactly to people that are listening?
Well, it depends on the show, and it depends on the location. So, you know, we were filming in Richmond, Virginia. Mm-hmm. And we cast people from all over the Southeast. Of course, we love the Richmond, Virginia pool and local actors and whatnot, but with 229 roles, you're going to have to go outside. So we did bring, and also during COVID, mm-hmm. on this show in particular, there were very specific testing sites that were available, and one was in Atlanta. So we were very much able to pull from the Atlanta pool of actors as well. And they're, you know, within a certain distance for SAG rules and all this stuff. So it was great, but we really covered, you know, when production, I'm very proud of this, but when production realizes that the location casting director is bringing in actors that are of an equal par to actors from New York and Los Angeles for larger roles, they start giving you more roles. So we had, I mean, so many gifts. We called them gifts. All of a sudden it was, oh, we thought that this was going to come from LA or New York, but maybe you could also look. Mm-hmm. And we're like, okay. And then, you know, and that happened again and again. So that's part of the reason the numbers went so high, but I was always excited about that, honestly, because it gives a Southeastern actor a real shot at some of these roles were, I mean, there are so many people that are across the screen that are on multiple episodes that are all Southeast actors. Like, it's really exciting.
Yeah, and there shouldn't be a difference in the quality, because if you're training, you're an actor, you know what I mean? So right. No matter where you live, but I think you did an amazing job, and I think every single person.
Thank you.
Although I do say it's a study for all actors to watch Michael Keaton in his role.
It's incredible.
It's incredible. And to watch him go from being the healthy doctor to the demise of his addiction, to getting clean and sober, to helping others. He has such an incredible arc, and the way that he takes these nuances that I always tell actors, pause your TV, write it down, see what he's doing, learn from that, so you don't go line to line and make the most boring choice, you know? So what I want to ask you is this. So you put out a breakdown, okay, for the local. So how does it work? So 1 million tapes come in from all over. Do you watch every tape? Is there something about actors' tapes that resonate more than others? Give us some juicy information.
Yeah, here's my analogy. You're not going to like my answer, but I'm going to give it to you. I don't think actors have any business knowing that stuff. And the reason I don't think actors should have any business knowing that stuff is it's like a bias towards the work. So I'm going to give you a parallel, and it's going to seem like I'm digressing, but it really hits home. So when I was casting The Good Lord Bird, we had someone come in for a harassment meeting, as in anti-harassment, not teaching us how to harass, which is a normal part of production, right?
Okay.
And this guy was so amazing, and he told a story about unconscious bias. And he said, if you're driving a car behind a car in front of you, and that car in front of you as you're driving is going incredibly slow or driving badly, if you have an unconscious bias, you might, as a human being, make an assumption on what that person driving the car in front of you looks like. Some people may not have any unconscious bias about that, but some people might. Mm-hmm. And it could be anything. Like, it doesn't have to just be one type of person or a specific gender or anything, but people might think, oh, Erica, she's blonde, she is a woman, and she's driving badly. That could be an unconscious bias. So regardless of that, what's so interesting is if you are aware of your unconscious bias and you go around that car and you look to the side, if it is blonde-haired ditzy driver, and that's what your unconscious bias was, or now conscious, your brain goes, yes, I was right. And it confirms and reaffirms that bias.
Okay.
Here's the interesting part. If you look and that is not a blonde, ditzy person driving, and your brain is wrong, do you know what your brain does? Throws out the information. It does not change its mind. It doesn't even start to change its mind. It throws it out and says, oh, there's something wrong with this. Nope, you still have to keep your unconscious bias. So do you know the best thing to do to combat unconscious bias is to look straight ahead, pass, and never, ever look at the car next to you.
Yeah.
You just go, okay, I think I have an unconscious bias, but guess what? I'm going to ignore it. I know it's there. I'm not going to feed it in any way whatsoever. And that's how you start chipping away at the unconscious bias. So to me, the whole parallel of this cuckoo story is
I love it. It's fascinating.
Actors concentrating on their work, on their joy in their work, on the character development, on the elevating the creative vision of everybody, of being a collaborator with casting directors, being a collaborator with the show, knowing that when you audition, you are collaborating with the show, because no one's going to get cast unless there are auditions. So you are a part of the show. Even if you never get hired, you have contributed to that show. So to me, that mindset is so healthy, and that's looking straight, but it's looking to the side when someone's like, oh, I get 500 tapes and I watch 2 of them, or whatever the statistics are. I feel like that's all getting in the way of the work. And I know it's a little Mary Poppins because there are some like business aspects to know, but I really think it's about the work and the joy of the work and the artistry and feeding your soul so much, and everyone else's soul so much more important than those statistics.
I absolutely love what you said, because it actually gets the actor back down to doing the process. And at the end of the day, that's what it is. It really doesn't matter. I had to ask the question in case you had some information to give, but you know what?
Oh no, and I don't mind being asked the question because it gives me a really good soapbox to tell you the story.
It really makes me like you a lot. It really makes me go, wow, if I was an actor and now I heard this information, you know what I would do? I would do what my guts tell me to do for that scene.
Yes.
I give it my guts say to do for the beginning, middle, and end of that, and F it, send it in, and joyfully send it in, and like feel like I've resonated what I've chosen to do for the story, and then let it go.
Yes, exactly. And I always say to my classes and stuff, because I have an education studio called Arvold Warner Studio that we started 10 years ago, but it's like going bonkers. Oh, it's great. We have a whole membership. We have it's a mindfulness and accountability incubator for screen artists. That's the membership. Shari, I'm going to invite you to be a member. You're going to eat it up. It's so great.
Wait, okay.
And then separate from that,
tell me what that is after you finish this.
Okay.
I had no idea.
But I always say actors are hired for their creative instinct.
Yeah.
That's why they're hired. What those instincts are in the situation, and never hired because they're one of 5 or whatever. Like it's so separate. It's so separate than that stuff. But I love what you said too about it, because that's just, it made me think about creative instinct.
Yeah. So tell me, what did you just say? What do you have? What is this community?
Oh, so yeah. So I had COVID really bad in March 1st, 2020. And so I nearly died. I'm back. I'm alive.
You're just throwing out all these traumatic things that like you're just glazing over. Oh, you almost died? Were you on a ventilator?
I was not. I was before they knew what COVID was. I was an early case, and I stayed at home, and I would not have lived if I weren't at home. I'm positive. So it was
if you were on the ventilator, you would not be here, because that's
well, here's the thing.
Oh my gosh.
Actor breathing exercises. Literally, I was using every actor breathing exercise. I felt like I had one of those cocktail straws in my mouth, and that's the most air I could possibly get in or out for, I don't know, a week, maybe a fewer days than that. But my husband, I mean, we were all sick in the house, and everyone stayed at different floors and whatever. And my sister's a doctor, thankfully. So, whatever. There's so many things that go into this, but my husband for 2 nights came into my room, I think every half hour to see if he needed to call 911 if I had stopped breathing.
Oh my goodness.
But I was in a relaxed state. I'm very into meditation and all this mindfulness stuff. And
You didn't
I
freak
was
out. You
so
didn't.
relaxed.
Yeah.
I was breathing in, but I couldn't lift a finger, nothing. I couldn't move anything. I couldn't open or close my eyes because every bit of concentration was getting air in and air out.
Wow.
And then my body somehow got past it.
Wow.
But when my body got past it, I did have some residual stuff, which took many months, but I was okay. I was able to function. And I was like, what's going to happen? We're certainly not casting. The movie business is, like everybody else, right? And so I started this membership because I needed it.
Yeah.
Sherry, I needed to connect with other artists, other screen artists. And I wanted to just create a space for community to develop as it might organically develop, putting out some, kind of pillars of ideas of what I wanted it to be about. And I thought I was building a small little cabin of a space that people would hang out. And then of course, just if you know me, I'm 6'1". I take a lot of space. I build big. Yeah,
I
build
love
big
you.
things.
I love that you're 6'1". As I can't tell. I'm 5'7". I'm a shorty next to you, but oh my God! Just hearing the story, holy crap! Because like that was a game changer. You getting that almost had to happen for you to parlay to a life-changing experience, which I tell all actors to put in their material. What is that life-changing moment that has led you to where you are today? So it's filled with all that life-changing experience. So you started, just say the name of it. What is it called again?
So Arvold Warner Studio, and it's my partner, Richard Warner, and myself. We've taught classes for years and years. He developed the graduate acting program at University of Virginia. He studied with Michael Howard back in the day. He was a New York actor. So anyway, he's very much went into academia for a long time. Now he's retired, but he is Arvold Warner Studio with me. But we now have a whole team of teachers, and I have to go I'm directing movies now. So I just go and direct, and it's great because then that lives on its own. And when I cast, that kind of lives on its own and I oversee it.
Tell us what it is. So you can.
Okay. So Arvold Warner Studio, there's classes and then there's a membership, and the membership is a mindset and accountability incubator.
Okay.
Meaning there are all sorts of things within the membership. It's all virtual. We have one physical location in Atlanta that we're very strict on the COVID rules for obvious reasons. You have to be vaccinated. You have to wear a mask. You have to do this, that, and the other. Yes. And it's about, there's like magnetic mornings every morning from 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. that Lauren Guglioli hosts. And you just start your day off right. I don't join those because I sleep. Yes. But some people love those mornings. We just got through.
What is in those mornings? Breathing, meditation?
Yeah, and co-working.
Oh, okay.
And we also have something literally called Creative Cafe. It's co-working. We have co-working hours too, but Creative Cafe is my Ted Chapman will put a prompt in, and people for Creative Cafe just start writing based on the prompt. And so you spend 2 hours just side by side, but you write and you might check in. Office hours, same thing, you check in. So we're providing space for people to get stuff done. A lot of people might learn their lines, or maybe they'll update their Actors Access profile, or like they say what they're going to do at the beginning. And the members are like, we get more done because we're not in a silo trying to figure out when to manage. At least we're just in a group and we're
holding
parallel work.
And you're holding everyone accountability.
Exactly. So there's Office Hours, Creative Cafe, and Magnetic Mornings. They're very similar. Those are all holding space to do work in kind of each of those things. Then
I'm sorry, this is all virtual, or you are in
it's all virtual right now. We have the studio, but we haven't implemented those things in the studio yet, just because of COVID so far. Yeah. And what other things do we have? We have, we just finished, we're on the 11th week, The Artist's Way. Have an Artist's Way group going through the book. And it's 1 week
Oh,
each, and it's like a book club, and we're going through it. It's so fun. But we're going to do in 2022. I don't even know if I'm allowed to talk about it yet, but I'll tell you. We're going to do it. We're going to call it The Artist's Life instead of The Artist's Way, and we're going to do The Artist's Way like she recommends. She's like, here, do it with people, whatever. But we'll do it once a month. So it's a whole year long, because once a week is intense, man. I had to drop out. I couldn't finish it.
Yeah, that's amazing. It's such a give back, Erica. It's just such a give back. And that's what really it all is. It really is the give back. The casting directors give to the actors, give to the casting. It's all unity, it all becomes one. And I feel like because of COVID, it's more so. And I think along the years, there's been such a separation. Oh my gosh, it's the director. Oh my gosh, it's the casting director. I'm just the actor. There's a separate. But I think, do you feel like there's sort of like, the surrender, like we're all freaking human, and then it's all about that communication and the collaboration.
1,000,000%. I agree 1,000,000,000,000,000%, because the thing I have found is that once you're an artist, even if it's not a screen artist, once you would just call yourself an artist, you are probably a screen artist plus something. Like, I'm a painter. I've painted, like Sylvester Stallone is a painter, right? It was painter, writer, actor. Right. And I think the world of multi-hyphenates, as you know, in order to, even be considered by one of the big agencies, or William Morris a long time ago, was like, we're not taking actors only, we're taking multi-hyphenates only. So it's like you have to do many things. And I think that's what's fun. And I mean, we have these guidelines for membership, kind of like, we don't say check your ego at the door, but we're like, this is not like people, we have lots of very experienced people of very different things that they do. It is mainly actors, but there are directors and writers and people very well known in there as well. And it's nice because no one is taking advantage of anyone or approaching anyone in a way, just artist to artist. Just, that's it. I take the classes. Like our teachers, we coach with each other all the time. You know what I mean? Like we're like really, it's great. And we love integrating with other communities. I think I've always been like, when we opened our studio in Atlanta quite a while ago now, I'm like, collaboration over competition.
Oh,
and
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
There's always enough to go around, and there's always something that can be gleaned from some other experience,
Oh my God. And if you get into the competition, you can only be in competition with yourself, because if you don't do well, and you have to do a self-check on what's in your way. That's great. And being competitive is wonderful. But I agree with you in the form that when you say competitive with other people, you know what that does? Despair and compare. And if you fall into despair and compare, you are just hurting yourself. It doesn't open you. It doesn't make you feel relaxed. It doesn't bring out your vulnerability. And you're right in the joyfulness. Acting should be joyfulness. Even if you're getting beat up in the scene, there's a real emotional scene. There's joy. It's a gift. It's just a gift.
Yeah. I mean, how lucky we are to make a living doing what we're doing, or even attempting to make a living doing what we're doing. Like it's a privilege.
Yeah. And it's a long haul. It's a big commitment. My heart goes out to actors. I was an actor for many years, and I'm on the other side of it. And there's a lot more power on the other side of it. But my heart, I feel every person. I'm a skinny person, because every person I coach, I like burn 1,000 calories. So I'm in that world, you know what I mean? I can eat anything in the world because I coach actors, and even in classes. So, but I'm sure you as a cast director and as a director, which I want to hear about, when someone is into the process versus someone who's trying to please and do it right. Because there is no right. It's all subjective. The other day,
ditto.
The other day, this actor came in and we were coaching on something, and she was like, God, I wish I had you for this other audition. And I looked at her audition. I was like, yeah, I don't know if we're going to get a call back because you were chomping your gum so much. And I'm not really sure that could be, whatever. Guess what? She freaking got a call back on that tape. And I go, you see, I know nothing. It's all subjective. Everyone's opinion. It doesn't, just do what your gut tells you to do.
Yeah, and things are changing. People get really tired of the same background, the same framing, and there is an interesting thing happening. And I wonder what your feeling is, especially as a coach, Shari, about this, because I just have this suspicious feeling, and I'm making this up. I don't know. I've only seen one audition that has happened like this, and I'm like, ooh, and I just made me so excited. I think we are having to break out of our boxes. Like we're head and shoulder acting. I have a very advanced class I'm teaching right now called Guest Star Series Regular. So it's to up people who want to be series regulars that are constantly guest stars, and they want to break through that glass ceiling of being a series regular. And it's amazing, even in that class at that level of actor, when you ask to walk away from the camera and incorporate things, it's like, oh, it's a whole body experience, and it's not just head and shoulders. And I'm making it much simpler than it is, but self-taping is, I think, making it a habitual consciousness to be right here. Do you know what I mean?
I kind of do, because I have some people, my more advanced actors don't think about it that way, but some other people, more beginning classes, that in my main studio, when we do the material, they don't resonate and fill the room. But when they come into my taping room and we tape their scenes that you worked on, then all of a sudden they're able to, because it's just right here, up here. And no, you want so much more. And I am so glad to hear you say that it's just that box. I'm a big teacher of behavioral, you know what I mean? And
yes,
and I need to have that 3-dimension. I need the behavioral, I need the environmental, I need the emotional life of that character. I'm sure you agree too. But I just had a client who booked a show, a big spot. And I said, you know what? Let's not do the tape like we usually do it. And I was doing it over Zoom. I was like, get on your bed and put your feet up, with your jeans on and your Doc Martens, and swing your legs and let's sit in it. And you know what? I think that inspired them to watch the whole tape and close the deal.
I had somebody, I'm just going to do that. I had someone the other day, and they had to say something, and then they had to go back and they had to sit down, and they just went out of frame like that. It was really simple, but they were talking to someone over there, and they got really, really excited to talk to them, and then they came back. And that in itself, I'm like, ooh, we're going to break out of the box, people. I can see it coming. I think it's going to come. And it, I always tell people, I'm like, the only difference between self-taping and on camera that is so profound that I think actors must understand is that in a self-tape, you as a human have to adjust for the camera. And on set, the camera adjusts for you. So you just remember it's just backwards. That's all. You just have to put yourself in front of the camera rather than let the camera find you.
Know where your frame is, but you can go in and out of the frame. All my series regulars, I'm going to tell you this right now. Every single solitary one of them. They didn't care if the camera missed them for a second. If they bent down and had to get something, they're like, okay, well, my head's cut off a little bit. I don't really care. I'm telling you the story. So whatever happens, happens.
Exactly. But that comes with experience and confidence, right? Because and you can feel it and you can hear it. I gave someone the direction the other day. I was doing a Zoom thing, and I said, start your lines off camera and then enter. And they were like, what? Talk off camera? I'm like, yes, talk off camera. It's okay, But I think there is something, and it can't be a gimmick though. That's the thing. You have to be experienced enough as an actor to be in obviously everything you're talking about, so that you can then just use that frame to your advantage as opposed to being stuck in it,
1,000%. So what are some just little 3 things of inspiration you want to reach out and tell actors to hold on to drive just to keep pushing? Because there can be a lot of negative and a lot of highs. It is an addiction. Your drug of choice is acting. So, you're going to have highs and lows in it, right? So what's 3 things that you can speak to the artists out here listening to help boost their...
I think where you are is okay. Accepting that where you are in your career and what you're doing, and that careers, it's not It's not an even path
Mhm.
up the rung. It's just not. It's sideways and backwards and ups and downs and whatnot. But really knowing that you are where you are and that's okay
Mhm.
on whatever, and you can have the biggest dreams. I love people with huge, massive, amazing dreams, and that's great. But there's also an acceptance
Yeah.
of you're good enough where you are as well.
Mm.
Those dreams aren't going to give you validation. You can give yourself validation right now and have those dreams at the same time. I think that's really, really important for any artist.
Yes.
Trying to think of something
Let me just
else. I mean, I think we yeah. Go ahead, Sherry. What?
I just was listening to a podcast doing my morning walk, and I was listening to Dwayne Wade, basketball player, right?
Yeah.
And he was talking about self-doubt. And it just triggered me when you were saying that about being okay where you are, because self-doubt will trickle in. You can have those good days of self-doubt. And I do think that artists have to treat it like an athlete, because he was talking about, he's like, man, I could be so on my game and I could be filled with it. And then if I miss 7 baskets, guess what's happening to me? I'm having self-doubt. I'm on that court and I'm having self-doubt. But here's the trick. I get myself out of that self-doubt. You cannot stay in that self-doubt for a long period of time, or it's going to deplete you. It's how you use it and fuel it. And he's like, I get out of it. I see a kid with my name on my shirt. I'm out. I'm out of my self-doubt, you know? So I think, I don't know, it just triggered me because I babbled,
Oh,
but
I
it just
love
triggered me
that.
because if you sit in that self-doubt, you deplete. But if you use that self-doubt, whoa, okay, but I'm going to get out of that self-doubt, because you know that your specialty is who you are. So you got to lift up and out of it. I'm sorry I interfered on your answer.
I love that. No, I love that, because actually building on that, I think there's also a nuance of accepting that it's only human to have self-doubt and having self-compassion and not, shaming yourself for having that doubt or falling into that. Because this is a part of it. And now acknowledging it, and then, okay, if I choose to get out of it, I have a tool to get out of it too. And like, and I think that's just such a healthy thing too, because sometimes we do have to grieve, right? Sometimes we do have to just
100%.
feel like the pits. And I know you're not saying the opposite of that, but it's a balance, isn't it?
Yes, it's a balance.
Wow. It reminds me, I did this show called Swagger that's out right now on Apple TV. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a basketball. It's unbelievable. It's an
Wait,
unbelievable show.
is it a
Seen the
reality show?
Swagger?
Is it a scripted show?
It's scripted, yeah.
Oh,
Uh-huh.
I
It's
love it. I'm going to go watch
she's
it.
a basketball player named Kevin Durant. It's
I love
inspired by
Kevin
him and
Durant.
his childhood story. And Reggie Rockbythwood is creator of the show. And it's Imagine and
Oh,
it's a real, I mean, it's like they compare it, what is it, Friday Night Lights and
oh,
Parenthood, kind
yeah,
of,
yeah, yeah.
but middle school basketball, elite basketball
Oh,
players.
wonderful, wonderful.
And but it talks about this in sports. And I mean, I'm an athlete or a former athlete anyway, and so it's
You
I'm
are?
like,
That is
oh
so
yeah,
weird that I even brought up this whole subject. That see, it's all six, it's all energy.
it's all sync. You're right, 100%. It all, of course, magnetism and energy and all that stuff, which I love. No, I was a competitive swimmer, and my sister was a basketball player, and we have a family of a lot of athletes, like a lot of, like, my nephews are soccer players.
Wow.
But I love the mindset of athletes. And I think it's the same thing. I think, theater folks, soccer folks,
Yep.
film and television folks,
Yep.
we have this, my sister and I were just discussing this because she teaches a lot of athletes. She's a professor now after being a doctor. Sounds crazy, but that's what happened.
Okay.
And but she's really into sports psychology and nutrition and the physical body mind connection, and really that's her thing. And but we were talking, because I was just at these playoff games, my nephew plays for Georgetown, and It's so fun because she's like, Erica, your world and my world are so the same. I'm like, I know, like my kid's at USC right now. And
Yes.
I'm like, they're in the cinema school at the, at the buildings. And I'm like, they're at Georgetown in the athletic center. And I'm like, it's the same. It's cuckoo.
It's the
It's
same.
the same.
It is. It's the same joy, the same determination, the same passion, the same perseverance. Living your life like an athlete
Yeah.
is the only way.
It is in everyone. And here's the thing that I think is interesting. I just saw a post and I actually disagree with this post. It was somewhere on Instagram or whatever. And
Yeah.
it said, artists are not athletes because artists don't win. And I was like,
What?
I don't think athletes win either. I disagree with the post because my nephews, we were just talking and it was about find the joy. Do you remember when you were 4 years old playing soccer in your front yard? Yes, there's all these recruiters from the pro teams here, but play like you were 4 because you have all the training and now it's about the leap or letting go, or so many people in acting call it different things. I don't know what I call it, the leap. But it's like you rely on all of that stuff you've built into a mountain over the years so you can fly, so you can jump and fly,
Who's to say what the win is? The win is that you do what you do. That's your win.
Well, exactly.
That's
joyfully.
it.
Anyway, so I think that's probably my second, kind of piece of advice is if you're not feeling like that pilot light is there and burning strongly, it's okay. You will always be an artist, whatever that is, whether you're an actor, whether you're a producer, whether you're a writer, that doesn't go away. So if the pilot light seems to have disappeared, take a break. If the pilot light is burning hard, but you're not getting a lot of stuff, maybe there's something you can finagle to find more joy in your everyday life as an artist. And, maybe it's doing sensory exercises when you wake up. No one sees them, but you're like, this makes me feel like an actor because I have been hunting for the smell of, coffee or whatever the sensory. Do some Strasbergian stuff, just go have fun. And pay attention to your artistry, because the way we look at things, like I've always wondered my whole life, do you see the color green the same way I see the color green? And no one knows that, right? I don't know if there's any studies that can actually come out and say, Shari, the way you see that green is like this, and the way Erica sees green is like this. So just embracing that alone makes you an artist, I think. Anyway, I'm digressing. I could talk to you forever. I just keep digressing.
One last thing before we close out. One last thing to tell them, training, stay in the craft, or stay in. For me, you can't be a full person unless you're living life to the fullest, you're eating healthy, you're exercising daily. You've got to incorporate all of it. That's my thing. What would you like to
Well,
say?
I couldn't agree more, because
I think we're the same person.
I think
really
the
like
mindset, I couldn't agree. Yeah, ditto. I mean, the mindset of a healthy living human being is fed by so many different things. And therefore, if you are in the business of telling stories of other living human beings, or you are in the business of being other living human beings or representing them, you have to be whole yourself. You just have to be, and you have to know that your flaws make you beautiful, and that your struggles and that grappling that you may do is worth it. Being an artist is worth it. That's it. That's what I'll say. I think it's totally 100 million% worth it.
100%. And as I say in my book, The Positive Path for Actors, your pain pit is your power pit. Erica, I adore you. Thank you so much. I'm stopping now because I got to go teach a whole class. Thank you, everybody who's tuned in and who's going to watch this.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving to you too. And how do people contact you if they hear this, they want to reach out, and maybe to that?
Go to arvoldwarnerstudio.com.
Okay. And we'll write it in the writing of the thing. You're amazing. Perfect. Have a wonderful holiday. Everybody out there, stay courteously aggressive. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank